Hypixel Skyblock's Tier 4 Enderman Slayer is one of the hardest bosses in the game, which is why in today's video I'm going to be showing you the cheapest setup that you can possibly use, which is a sword, armor set, and pet that combined cost less than 100 million coins. I'll also be giving you some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way that have helped me do Enderman Slayers at all levels, so this video can help you out no matter where you are. At the end of this video, I'll be showing you the setup I use to kill Tier 4 Endermen, along with a way that you can kill bosses in under a minute. Also, if you want to start your Enderman grinding journey yourself, I recommend you watch until the end, because I'll be giving away an entirely free set of Final Destination armor in my Discord server. With that, let's get right into the video. The first thing I want to talk about is the attack pattern and strategies you should use to kill the Void Gloom Seraph. It has 300 million health, deals 21,000 damage per second, and attacks in 6 phases. At the beginning of each phase, it has a hit shield, which you have to attack 100 times to get rid of. This occurs again when it's at 66% health, and then once again at 33% health. In between these times, it has a second phase, which is called the Broken Heart Radiations. It becomes entirely immune to damage and casts out very dangerous beams that will deal 25% of your max HP as true damage. These hurt a lot, but are also not just dangerous because of their damage. They'll also decrease your healing by 12% for 90 seconds, which stacks. If you get hit by multiple of these in a row, the fight becomes very difficult as you get very little healing. Also, the ferocity you deal to it is decreased by 75%, meaning that some items that seem like they would be incredibly powerful are severely nerfed. While it's in its hit shield phases, it will deal a ton of damage and will ramp up over time. It is a good idea to try to get out of these phases as quickly as possible, because they will shred you if they stay for too long. While these numbers and abilities are very threatening, it doesn't take a ton of effort to be able to solo them. I can solo them in around 2 minutes, however it requires a lot of coins, and of course not everybody has that. To be able to solo kill this boss, you only need a few things, the first being the Vorpal Katana. You want a one-for-all Fabled Vorpal Katana, and as you can see right here, this one is only around 35 million coins. This is a very powerful weapon, however, you need other complementary gear to make it work. The next item that you need is your pet, and that is the Baby Yeti. Right here is a level 100 epic Baby Yeti, which only costs 30 million coins. I also do recommend that you use a turtle shellmet on it, because not taking knockback from the bosses is very convenient. Of course, this isn't super cheap, but in my opinion, it is very much worth it if you want to start grinding out this boss. The last piece of gear that you need is Final Destination armor. I recommend using full Final Destination armor, as it will give you a lot of EHP if you level up the kills on it. As you can see right here, a clean set is very cheap, with the boots being 2 mil, the legs being 2.7, the chest plate being 3.4, and the helmet being 3.5. In total, this is around 12 or 13 million coins, and so it's really not that expensive. However, to max it out, it does take a little bit of time. All you really need on this armor set for it to be effective is Growth 5, Prot 5, Hot Potato Books, and Ancient. Recombobulating it, Fuming Books, Wisdom, higher level enchants, and True Protection are not really necessary, and are more there just because it's a nice little flex. In my opinion, they are very convenient to have, but they aren't necessary by any means. To use this armor most effectively along with the Vorpal Katana, you will need Soulflow. Soulflow is a resource produced by minions, and is relatively cheap. You can buy it off the bazaar, and when you consume it, it adds Soulflow to your Soulflow battery. Right now I have 13,000, but you definitely don't need that much. But if you want to main this armor set all the time, it is very convenient to have a lot of. The other thing that makes this armor very powerful is the defense you gain towards Endermen. By killing Endermen, you level up the amount of defense you gain towards them, and as you can see right now, I have 18,000 kills on my armor, meaning that I have a bonus 310 defense. I recommend that you only go to around 5,000 or 10,000, and anything above that really doesn't do a ton. And all this does is means that you can tank through the tier 4 Enderman much more easily. In my opinion, the best way to do this is by using a Frozen Scythe on the 4,500, 6,000, and 9,000 health Enderman. However, you can do any method that you want. This method is the most easy for me because it really doesn't take much effort and you can one-tap basically everything. I recommend that you disable the full set bonus on this armor, or else you will go through a lot of soul flow. To do this, middle click on one of the armor pieces, and now as you can see, if I go into combat with an Enderman, I will no longer lose soul flow over time, which I normally would if I hadn't disabled the full set bonus. Once you put all that gear together and you've leveled a decent amount of kills on your armor, you need a few more things. First of all, you want to have some source of a plasma flux or overflux power orb. You don't need to place it yourself, and so I'm not going to be counting this as part of the cost, because you can always sort of just find another sweat who will place one down for you and not even realize it's there. Personally, I recommend that you get your own, and an overflux does cost around 55 million coins, and that will be good enough for most cases. If you're new to tier 4 Endermen, or any level of Enderman at that matter, you should kill them outside of the Void Sepulchre, because then you can use Remnants of the Eye. Remnants of the Eye are actually pretty cheap, and you can fill your entire inventory with them, meaning that whenever you die, you get another life. Of course, they don't work inside the Void Sepulchre, so you have to spawn them out here, meaning that you should go and get as many kills as you can inside, come outside, and then kill a few of the 9,000 or other level of Endermen, and then start the boss outside. One other thing that is super cheap is subscribing to my channel. It means a lot, and it helps support me a ton. The last part of the setup that you'll need is healing items, and the most valuable of these by far is the Necron's Blade or Hyperion. A Hyperion, of course, is a very powerful weapon. Mine is a Valkyrie, but it doesn't matter that much. This item is extremely broken for healing, and because it also decreases incoming damage by 10% whenever you use the Wither Shield ability. Yes, it is a very expensive item, however, it is almost necessary to be able to try tier 4 bosses. If you don't have a Hyperion, but you do have an Atom Split Katana, you can probably also pull it off, but those are both very expensive swords. However, you probably don't need to worry. I haven't tried this out myself, but if you have another friend to help you out, and you have sufficient Remnants of the Eye, you can probably do it without a Hyperion at all, as long as you both have Vorpal Katanas. There are a few other items that you can use to heal you and the person you're doing bosses with, the first of which being the Lesser Orb of Healing. Although I don't personally use it, and I don't really see many people using it in general, it is there and it's not bad. You can also use a Zombie Florid Sword, which I use a ton, and I strongly recommend you pick up. I also do recommend that you get an Ultwise 5 Wand of Atonement, because for only 120 mana, it will heal you for nearly 1200 health, and because it lasts for 7 seconds, you can use it and not have to worry about it for another 7 seconds. With this relatively cheap setup, I could do tier 4 Endermans solo. That's not using any rems, that's not with anybody else's help, that's entirely solo inside the Sepulchre. Yes, it is possible, however, it is difficult. If you are using this setup, I have a few tips so then you can be most effective. First, do not get hit by lasers at all. Lasers not only hurt, but will also decrease your healing, and they will absolutely destroy your chances of having any shot at killing the Enderman. Second is watch your mana. You only have so much mana, and it is a very valuable resource because it's what allows you to use all of your healing items. Healing items are sort of what allow you to do this in any gear, and they are very important. If you run out of mana, you are very likely to die. My last tip is to really pay attention to the heads during the third phase. If you can't kill the heads, because you're only using a Vorpal Katana, you won't be dealing very much damage, which means that there will be a lot of heads out, and then over time, their damage will ramp up, and you will basically just get one shot no matter what you do. To have the best chance of not losing track of your heads, and also not losing track of any beacons it places, I recommend that you do it either up in this top area, or one level down. These are by far the most open places in the Sepulchre, but if you want to do it outside of the Sepulchre, then you should probably do it up right at spawn. This is by far the most flat place, however it is a little bit annoying because Nons will be going and trying to hit your boss when of course they can't. You can also do it in a place like this, but what matters most is that it's flat, open, and you can see. To show that it can in fact be done, I'll be turning off my Auto Slayer and then seeing how long it takes me to kill a tier 4 Enderman with this setup. I'm not going to be using my Atom Split, I will only be using my Vorpal Katana and my healing items. Also, I will be using a Legendary Baby Yeti, but the Legendary versus the Epic is the exact same pet because I'm not using a Yeti sword, which means that there is no difference. As you can see here, I just completed the boss, and it took me a little bit under 4 minutes, which means I did cut it quite close, however, I did kill it. It's not impossible, and you can entirely do it, even with relatively cheap gear. Now, I want to show you how you should really do do it and how you can be most efficient with grinding out these bosses. Of course, if you can afford it, you should definitely be using an Atom Split Katana. As you can see right here, I deal around 700,000 damage with the Vorpal Katana, and with an Atom Split, I'll deal 1.1 to 1.3 million damage, which is a lot more. Of course, that also allows you to one-tap Voidling Fanatics, which makes it a lot faster to spawn. If you really want to grind out tier 4s, an Atom Split is kind of a must. Not only does it mean that you'll be doing them faster, but you also don't have to pay attention to your mana as much because relatively more of your time will be spent in the Broken Heart Radiation stage. During that time, you can naturally regenerate your health and mana, meaning that you don't really need to pay attention to either as much. Of course, while I use full Final Destination, there are plenty of people that use other setups and other variants. One of the very commonly seen variants is using a Warden Helmet instead of the Final Destination helmet. The Warden helmet provides a lot more damage, but will decrease your EHP against Endermen because you get less defense. In my opinion, I don't like it as much because I also like having the speed and ferocity, but there are plenty of people that will use this setup. Finally, there are also a very few people that will use Necron boots instead of the Final Destination boots. I don't entirely know why, but in my opinion, it's probably just because you get a little bit more damage, and if you have the EHP and you can tank through them, you can use this instead. Another very commonly seen variant for both tier 3 and tier 4 Enderman Slayers, and what I actually use for tier 3s, is Ender Dragon instead of a Baby Yeti. I recommend that if you do this, you use a true Ender Dragon because a Shelmet is very powerful. Once again, not everybody has this, most people don't, but it is a very nice pet as it'll increase your damage a ton, and if you have the EHP to tank through either the tier 3 or 4, you can use this. Lastly, I want to talk about the method that allows you to sometimes kill bosses in under a minute. This requires 2 people, and more often than not, both people will use 3/4 Final Destination and a Warden Helmet. Also, both people can use a true Ender Dragon, meaning that your damage output is pretty insane. Before you do this, I recommend that you talk between each other and decide who's going to kill the heads and who's going to be killing the beacons and stuff like that, because coordination is somewhat important. Also, decide who's placing down the plasma flux and other stuff like that, and then kill your bosses as quickly as possible with the help of each other. To do a test on how fast you can actually kill these, I called up one of my friends and we ended up doing a tier 4 together. This boss was a little bit on the slower side and I was using a Warden helmet, but I still did it in 1 minute and 8 seconds with the help of a friend of mine. This setup is pretty insane, and if you're trading back and forth, this means that it's an average of 2 minutes per boss for each of you. This is really fast, and it means that you can be very efficient with your tier 4 kills. And with that, that just about wraps it up for this video. If you enjoy the kind of shorter, more straight to the point guide content, subscribe and join my Discord server. I'll also be giving away a full set of Final Destination armor over there, so I recommend you join. Thank you guys so much for watching, I'll see you later, and adios.